then we'll...
Yes, ma'am.
Good
Could you tell something about
morning,
COVID?
morning, class 6. Yes, we
Good
started
morning, ma'am.
discussion on Mayapur and the trip that you usually have. And as I said that, there's a lot of, it's an educational trip. All the trips that you go from in school, they are all educational trips. So what you learn in class now, many things we show you there. But unfortunately that cannot be done. But we already have the net and we have to make the most use of it. Okay, now before I proceed, firstly, there are quite a few of you. I am sending, I hope yesterday also I sent a mail as to who all are not submitting works. Like Shivam has not submitted any work in history till now. Not a single work has come, and I have sent mails to the class group. I am repeating this on record today that I will not be going on mailing. I'll give one reminder in class after every work that please submit, which I have given for the previous works, the written work, and then I will send a mail to the class group. Then there is Samriddha. Samriddha, you have in term 2 also not submitted anything. Now, few of you only submitting projects will not help, and few of you, when I'm saying write the answers, are typing it out. So please be careful that giving only Vicon test or doing one project like this, there are, I have sent the mail in the class group. I hope everybody has got that mail that I sent in the class group.
Yes, ma'am.
That I have. So your second, your reminders have gone, and those who did not submit, but don't do it in future. Your reminder for submission of the project is this. Okay, so you have the project to be submitted, and next week you have your assessment on the Mauryan Empire. Please remember, next week, Tuesday, you will write down the answers in your copy. So there are two parts. One is writing the answers, and Wednesday, it will be a Vicon test. So it's divided into two parts, full Mauryan Empire. And in Vicon, there will be questions from Buddhism and Jainism as well. Some short questions from Buddhism and Jainism as well. So revise the two topics very well, because with each test, term 2 is very short. By February, everything will be over. So the more you miss now, the more trouble you will be in later part. And we are not going to accept late works this time. One set.
Ma'am, what will we do in March?
By March, more or less, we might get into revision how many days you have class. There are lots of activities that take place during that time. Let's see if there are online activities, games, speech competitions. Last time it was online. Different types of activities take place in March, and then in March you get your report.
Ma'am, this time will it happen offline or this time online?
That is very, very difficult to say, because every day the government's notices are changing. So once again, I'm requesting, do not take your works very lightly. Do not do this, that you keep your works pending day after day. And if you are not giving any test or absent on a test day without an absent note, I am not going to mark you absent. I'm going to give you a 0. I'm going to maintain this, because I do not take tests in a surprise way. So it's never a surprise test. I already inform much well in advance that you people are going to have a test on this day. This is the submission time. Please do submit. So projects, if I don't get it by this week, this Friday, so no more project acceptance will be done. And next week, what?
Which project on the Mauryan Empire?
The Mauryan Empire one, because geography project already done, and I have already sent who did not submit the work and has got a 0. So the moment I send that mail, so it's done. Yes, Anushka?
Ma'am, you had told me to share today because I wasn't able to send the PPT.
Yes. You have not. You couldn't share it. After the class,
Ma'am, video has paused.
I will let you. Okay.
Okay.
I wanted to discuss the last part of the chapter a little bit more with you all, and tomorrow I will discuss question answer. So you all can take, have a revision and practice question answer session. So you can keep your classwork copies handy for taking class notes. Now, lastly,
When your video is fully black.
this trouble will continue. We can't help
Ma'am,
it.
I just said that you got
Excuse me, ma'am.
disconnected.
Disconnected. I was just.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
You bring the.
Ma'am, can you please explain me the modern administration?
Absolutely, absolutely. So,
Ma'am, yesterday I was doing a bit of research on Ashoka. I thought that after him there was Dasharatha Maurya, and then his grandson, Samprati or something. Samprati.
yes. For after Ashoka's grandson, then their grandson, like that way for 50 years. Let's do the last part again. So, Mauryan and
Does it always have to be the sun?
Ma'am, in the Mauryan Empire, only the first three
Does it always
emperors were strong. And then after those, all the emperors were weak. All the emperors were getting weak.
like in a test, the first, second, and third are only the best. The next are not so much.
thank you for sharing that. Yes.
The first and third are the best.
Strongest. Now, after that, the empire became weaker with time. This is the part that we are going to discuss both this part. So let's see how the Mauryan administration was done. Just like now, we have a country. The country is divided into states. 1 minute. The country is divided into states. States are divided into districts. Districts are divided into blocks. That way, the administration is divided from a big to a small part. Why is it divided into small parts? It is divided into small parts so that, the problems of each area can be solved by local people. Everybody can take part, and that way it is faster. Imagine, during Amphan, there is no electricity in my or during any time there is an electricity power cut in my area, and it is for 10 hours there is no power and all. Now if I go and think about reporting it to the Prime Minister, will it help? But
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. Not at all.
Minister, by the time he gets the time, everybody
We have to complain it to the municipality or corporation.
What we do is exactly, we live in a particular block. We go and report it to the head of the block, who is known as the councillor. The council elections and Kolkata mayor elections are coming up very soon. So you see, this way you can always say that now the councillor lives in our area only or nearby area. So that person is aware of all the problems and can easily solve the problems. In the same way, the Mauryan administration, it was a huge empire. The king is only at one place, and earlier there was no internet, no phones, nothing. Now you have to manage such a big empire. So the entire empire was divided into parts, and each part was called a province. So the full empire divided into smaller parts, and each part is called a province. Like the country is divided into states. The country has the central government and the states have the state government. West Bengal's government solves the problem of West Bengal. Kerala's government solves the problem of Kerala. Maharashtra's government solves the problem of Maharashtra. This way. And definitely there is the prime minister and group of ministers who look after the entire country. So in the same way, the king and his group of ministers were there at the head. Now the kingdom was divided into provinces, and each province was, given, a prince or someone from the royal family was given the responsibility to maintain each province. Now the provinces, like a state is then divided into different districts. Like take for West Bengal. West Bengal is divided into North Chobbish Pargona, South Chobbish Pargona, Howrah, Hooghly, Malda. Then you have Darjeeling, Alipurduar. These are all districts. Okay. In the same way, so the empire was divided into provinces, provinces were divided into, smaller districts and villages. And at those districts and village levels, there were officials. These people may not be from the royal family, but these are efficient people who belong to the noble Kshatriya class and all. They were given different duties and they used to manage these areas. So this is long and short a simple structure, three-step structure you can say. Kingdom divided into provinces, provinces made up of villages or districts which are made up of several villages. They are divided into districts which are made up of villages. And overall, so that all the information goes to the king, since there was no internet or phone, so they maintained a very good spy system, because mainly at the capital, king used to go on tours, but when the king is also on tour, so it is such a big kingdom, the king needs to get information from all parts of the kingdom, so that all now like a telephone, so that all the information reaches the king and properly the king is aware about everything. So there was a very good spy system. Now is it clear?
Ma'am,
Yes,
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
the provinces, the empire was divided into provinces and it was headed by a prince. Ma'am, so didn't the prince try to kill the king and take the whole empire?
This you can say, this always depends on what type of a king it is. See, these are people from the royal family, not only means or people from the royal family was in charge of the province. Now, if the king himself is very strong, well protected, of course, there were always dangers of betrayal. There was always danger of treachery. Okay, these things used to take place. I told you the story why Chanakya used to give Chandragupta a little bit of poison so that if somebody tries to betray him, and these things did go on, but it also depended on how well the king manages. The king definitely had a group of people who are his trustworthy people, and the spy network. It's not that he used to leave it on the prince and then forget about that part of his kingdom. Of course, he used to himself go on tours. Like that is why Ashoka, Chandragupta, Bindusara, they are such good kings. They knew how to manage the kingdom. They always knew how to manage the kingdom well. They are always aware, they used to have spy networks, they used to stay in good, they used to keep good, powerful people in positions, and, the people who were in positions, you will see many later kings used to do this, that they never made those positions permanent. They used to keep changing so that, nobody can try to betray them. Of course, there was always chances of betrayal, you cannot say, but how well the king manages the situation, that is what makes you a great administrator, a great administration. That is there till now in politics. You are seeing so many ministers first joining one team, then leaving that team, going to another team, then leaving that team, going to another team for votes. So you never know. That is even there. You can never rule out such things. That is what happened with the last Mauryan ruler as well.
What is ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Brihadratha was
Yes, ma'am.
betrayed by Pushyamitra Shunga.
Yes. Who was the next one? Question.
Here, this is Anantas. What is Anantas?
What is?
What is
Here,
Ananta?
King.
Ma'am, in the
Ananta
email.
It is Ananta.
Yes.
Oh, Amatyat.
Amatyas and ministers.
Ananta.
Okay, Amatyas. Amatyas were basically ministers who used to help the king in different management things. Mahamatyas and Amatyas, like, let's say, now we have the administration system this way. There's the prime minister. But is the prime minister the only minister? Of course not. The prime minister has a group of other ministers who help him. Like you have the defense minister, the home minister, the education minister, finance minister. In the same way, the king had a council, a group of people, you know, and those group of people and ministers, they were during that time called amatyas, mahamatyas, depending on what type of work they did in the kingdom. So many religious duties were there, and all, everything was there. So that is how the Mauryan administration was. Now, reasons for the decline of the Mauryas, you know, this is given in the yes, 1 minute. So you can take this down. There are a few, this is not exactly given directly, but I can tell you what happened, why the Mauryan Empire declined. Okay, now after Ashoka's death, what happened was Ashoka managed the kingdom in such a way that he did work for the people. His people were very happy with him, and he did not let go of the army completely. Now, slowly, because of Ashoka's, you know, great belief in Buddhism and the policies of Buddhism, so, you know, he tried to spread Buddhism all across, and people of his kingdom were influenced by that. And the next kings also, they were also mostly following, most of them followed Buddhism. Now, what happened after Ashoka was that slowly, but do you think the Brahmins were not there? The Brahmins were there in the society. And what did they notice? The Brahmins noticed that their importance, their control, their power is going away. The Brahmins noticed that now we are no more respected. Now nobody is fearing us. You know, if equality comes in, why was the caste system so important for them? Very frankly, the caste system started for a very different reason. The caste system started so that in society, what one person should do, you know, the work is divided. When work is divided, then all the works are done in a balanced way, and there is no fighting or too much of competition is not there, and everybody is doing something, and you know, the society runs in a balanced way. But what it became later on was nothing but a struggle for power. You know, like a ladder system where the people in the top, they wanted to hold on to that power. Now, many of the Brahmins, they were not really happy with the situation that, you know, now people are talking about equality and, you know, mixing with the people of the lower caste and this and that. So there was discontent. And since Ashoka had adopted the policy that, you know, they will not attack any more kingdom, after Ashoka's death, the kings were not very powerful, and the kings were not very efficient as Ashoka was. So what happened was, after Ashoka's death, taking advantage of weaker kings, that the kings are weak, you know, other kings, the kingdom, it became, they started, especially from the northwestern
Yes,
part.
ma'am. During Dasaratha's reign, many territories broke free from Mauryan Empire.
Absolutely. They started revolting. And they started declaring their own kingdoms as independent kingdoms outside the Magadha kingdom. You know, there were internal revolts, and they chose a leader, and they said that now we are an independent kingdom. Once again, what happened was, what happened till Ashoka and Chandragupta's, under their rule, India became united as one power. But now, India, once again, after their decline, the Magadha and the Mauryan Empire declined. That means the Mauryans started declining, and the, you know, the united thing, it started breaking into pieces. There were revolts. Once again, a number of kingdoms came up, and all the kingdoms were now again fighting for land and power, and all these things were taking place. In this situation, but Pataliputra and the areas in and around modern day Bihar, that was still under the rule of the Mauryas. Now, what happened actually is that, you know, by the time it was, you know, time for Brihadratha Maurya to sit on the throne, Pushyamitra was one of his very important ministers. Pushyamitra Shunga was one of his very important ministers. And Pushyamitra was a great believer in Hindu culture and the Vedic culture. Okay, so Pushyamitra Shunga did not really, want to follow the Buddhist philosophies and all. So, like you asked, was there no threat? Of course, there was, and one such threat worked. So, Pushyamitra planned an assassination, like you can say, assassination and killing of the king. And when the king went on touring the army and all, so he was beheaded, his head was cut and he was killed.
Military parade.
It was one of his generals only.
One of his quite powerful generals.
Yes, ma'am, quite good.
Because
And he betrayed.
by now, the Mauryans did not believe in, attacking without reason. They were followers of Buddhism. They were not really up for war. But you also need to have, what Ashoka did was he ruled it with a very strong, he had a very strong character. You cannot go and do anything and everything, get away with all crimes and all under Ashoka's rule. Yes, he did not believe in war, but if you do something wrong, there were punishments. But the later kings were comparatively weaker in personality, in way of management. They were not as good as that. And that is why all the revolts and all were taking place. Plus the Brahmins were now planning and plotting, and they were against it. They wanted the Vedic culture to come back, okay, and the society to remain. And of course, there were Buddhists and all, but most of the people were still following Hinduism. So the rage of the Brahmins, the anger of the Brahmins were also taking place. And then Pushyamitra definitely, Pushyamitra was a great believer in Vedic culture. So when he killed the last Mauryan ruler, within 50 years of Ashoka's rule, the dynasty ended and Pushyamitra started the Shunga dynasty, which was again, from here, you will see again a turn of events taking place. And once again, the Vedic culture taking central stage, while Buddhism in India becomes, a minor religion, a minor philosophy, and there are few people who are actually following it. It was just restricted to smaller parts, while Hinduism once again takes great shape. And in the post-Mauryan, now after the rule of the Mauryas, that will be our next topic, the post-Mauryan period and the main, this is the last history topic that you will be doing. What happened after the Mauryas, the division of the kingdom.
Please, the Shunga Empire, please.
The Shunga,
And the Gupta Empire.
because Shunga did not last
The Gupta.
great impact. You will read about two empires,
And the Gupta.
external attacks, like
And the Gupta Empire.
Empire.
Alexander attacked. In the post-Mauryan period, there were many other Greek people who invaded India. So Indo-Greeks and also Indian and Greek culture mixing, and there were some kingdoms. And in the post-Mauryan period, there was a very important kingdom, which was called the Kushana kingdom. So you will learn about that Kushana kingdom, I'll teach you. And then the Gupta Empire, which is known as the golden period of Indian ancient history. Golden period of Indian ancient history. Then slowly we move on to the medieval period, when the
India is attacked by the
What period is it?
Mughal.
The Mughal.
Islam even later. There are many more people who invaded India. So we will do that in class 7. Now,
Didn't the Persians invade?
yes, Persians, once again they did.
Ayushman, please.
Ayushman, mute yourself. Why are you blowing into
Always
the mic?
blowing into the mic.
Really disgusting.
Okay. Yes. Now, one video I would like to show you. This is the Mauryan influence on art and architecture of India. Let's watch this.
Look around you when you travel. You will see all kinds of buildings around you. Look around you when you travel. You will see all kinds of buildings around you. Some under construction, some old, some brand new, sparkling. What about during the time of Ashoka? What were the kinds of artworks or architectural marvels that existed during the time of the Mauryas? Let's find out. The Mauryans made huge contributions to Indian art. Most of the artworks that existed prior to Ashoka's time were made of wood. Ashoka's period saw the transition from the use of wood to stone in artworks. Stupas, pillars, and caves were the major contributions of the Mauryan Empire to art and architecture. As you can see, a stupa is a dome-like building. Stupas are buildings where holy relics of the Buddha or that of Buddhist monks or nuns were kept. We already know that Ashoka was a follower of Buddhism, so he built a large number of stupas across his empire. Sadly, only a few of these have survived. The most famous among these stupas are the Sanchi Stupa and the Bharhut Stupa in Madhya Pradesh. Perhaps the most important piece of artwork done during the time of Ashoka were his huge pillars. The pillars that later generations thought were so huge, they had to be built by the legendary warrior Bhim or by the gods themselves. These were pillars built from a single piece of rock. That's why they were called monoliths. Ashoka wrote his messages about Dhamma on these pillars. By the way, some of these Ashokan architecture and symbols are still with us. In fact, they are all around you, even now, right at this moment. The 3-lion emblem that we see on our currency notes, on our passports, and on the letterheads of the Government of India are adopted from the capital of the Ashokan Sarnath pillar. And it is the national emblem of India. The figures on top of the Ashokan pillars are known as the capitals. These capitals often consisted of animal figures. The Sarnath pillar's capital consisted of 4 lions standing back to back. It was adopted as the national emblem of India. The lions were mounted on a circular base. The base consists of carved figures of a horse, a bull, a lion, and an elephant, each separated by a wheel called the Dharma Chakra. The whole capital is mounted on the top of a full-bloom lotus. The lions went to our currency notes and stuff, and the Dharma Chakra, also known as the Ashoka Chakra or the Wheel of Law, is what we see at the center of our national flag. The original lion capital of Ashoka is preserved in Sarnath Museum near Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh, in case you want to check it out.
If you
Fantastic.
Who can tell me why is the lion capital situated at Sarnath?
Ma'am, because it was actually found in Sarnath.
And because the Buddha gave his first sermon at the deer park in Sarnath. Because the Buddha gave his first sermon in deer park in Sarnath.
Buddha gave his first sermon at
Sarnath, at the deer park in Sarnath.
Ma'am, deer park at Sarnath. The Buddha gave his first sermon.
I heard. Thank you. Very, very good. Exactly. Why would he be, why did Sarnath be Ashoka's, choice for building the lion capital, where he built this 4-lion symbol? Because Buddha gave his first
son.
Lord Buddha gave his first teaching,
He was a follower of Buddha.
and you all talk so much in between. And from the moment he gave those teachings, it is said that the Dharma Chakra, the wheel of truth, life, values, he started that with his teachings. So to mark the importance of that place, the lion capital the lion capital was built in Sarnath. Now I can even show you even Buddhist art and architecture. Of course, you know
And
about.
can you repeat once more?
Which one?
I got disconnected. Why it is located in Sarnath?
Because Lord Buddha gave his first sermon, his first teaching at Sarnath. Remember? Deer Park at Sarnath?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. We just did.
It says that
Yes, ma'am.
with him giving the teachings, he started the Dharma Chakra. And beside Ashoka's throne was like that behind Ashoka's throne, that chakra was there. It was the wheel of 24 spokes showing 24 values. And definitely with that you can say that it is said the wheel of time also, that time will always change and India will progress. We use that in our flag for that reason. Okay, now you see, during Ashokan times, as I said, rocks were very much used. You just read that. And if you ever visit two very beautiful places in India, it is called Ajanta and Ellora caves. You see, these caves are built from nothing but rocks, and it has various stories from life of Lord Buddha, different postures of Lord Buddha carved.
No, Ashoka built this.
No, Ashoka himself, but it is believed that it was built during the Ashokan period only. This was actually invented, these caves. So this is in the mountains, this is in the Western Ghats of India. So if you visit Western Ghats, you have to basically go to Bombay and Mumbai, and from there you can take a train to Aurangabad, and from there you go to Ajanta Ellora. So you see Ajanta Ellora caves, this is the Ajanta caves, and you have Ellora caves also. Throughout the world, there are beautiful paintings. There are the caves are built like this in the mountains.
It's a heritage site. Wow.
It is a heritage site, and you have like this earlier, when Buddhist monks used to come, they used to stay in these caves. Some caves are dedicated to Buddhism, some caves are dedicated to Jainism, and some caves are dedicated to Hinduism. Like one Hinduist famous cave is Mount Kailash. Have you seen Feludas Kailashi Kelenkari?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't remember.
I have seen.